amazing. Every word she says about Barack Obama is negative. I can't think of her sitting there just waxing poetic about him, complimenting, he's brilliant, he's a great dad, he was the greatest president, whatever a normal wife of Barack Obama would say. Every time she opines, it's something that reflects poorly on him, how he's insensitive, how he's not a talker, how he doesn't know how to relate to people, he doesn't keep the same schedule as she does, and now we're talking about
Megyn Kelly didn't simply criticize Michelle Obama, she launched a full-scale dismantling of the carefully polished image that's been upheld like scripture for years. In a scathing takedown, she tore past the glossy magazine covers, the well-rehearsed speeches, and the billionaire lifestyle cloaked in everyday relatability. Each polished anecdote, each perfectly staged smile was reframed as a move in an intricate game of brand management. This wasn't soft disagreement, nor was it a polite debate. It was an unflinching demolition, a spotlight burning through the veneer, leaving Michelle's once untouchable aura fractured and her meticulously curated persona dangling by a fragile thread.
Just as bitter as ever. There's such a great new, spin of complaints here. Here's one from her most recent episode, which still on YouTube, she's got like 200,000 subscribers. It's really amazing that now she's been doing this for how many episodes? She's been literally on every podcast of the left wing promoting it. And that's still all she's...
Michelle Obama has long been portrayed by the media as political royalty, an untouchable modern icon whose every gesture, no matter how rehearsed or self-serving, is celebrated with thunderous applause. Her speeches are treated like gospel. Her appearance is polished into moments of perfection, wrapped in a flawless narrative. But Megyn Kelly wasn't buying the performance. She arrived with no patience for the pomp, no tolerance for the carefully staged illusions. This wasn't the familiar stream of soft-focus praise or sugar-coated profiles. Kelly ripped back the curtain, stripping away the glossy magazine spreads and Instagram-ready quotes to reveal something far less pristine.
Podcast called Diary of a CEO. It's kind of rings a bell like a founder kind of situation. And once again, wants you to know how awful it is to be married with children.
Any natural reasons why marriage, infertility, trying to have kids makes things difficult. It's like, I try to tell couples, of course it's hard. Just listen to what I say.
For years, Michelle Obama has been carefully packaged as the ultimate down-to-earth public figure, the woman who supposedly feels the everyday struggles of ordinary Americans. The image is one of warmth, relatability, and authenticity. But Megyn Kelly wasn't buying the script. How relatable, she pressed, is someone who has spent the bulk of her adult life circling elite social spheres, jetting off to private resorts, and dining with billionaires behind velvet ropes. The only struggles Michelle seems familiar with are deciding whether the Gulfstream jet or the luxury yacht offers the better backdrop for her next perfectly staged photo op.
Here she is interviewing Dr. Sharon Malone, perhaps better known as former Attorney General Eric Holder's wife. And therein lies the problem, as these two ladies married to two very famous men are pissed that they are not the alpha in terms of popularity and recognition.
Megyn Kelly then tugged at the loose thread of Michelle Obama's celebrated activism, the kind that sparkles in headlines but seems to fade the moment the cameras stop rolling. She zeroed in on the Let's Move campaign, a glossy, par-friendly initiative that promised a revolution in children's health. In reality, it unraveled into red tape, cafeteria experiments kids despised, and a round of self-congratulatory applause that overlooked the deeper, systemic issues. To Kelly, it was the perfect case study in Michelle's public career, grand gestures and polished optics, wrapped in the language of change, but delivering little beyond appearances.
If you're having some issues in your marriage, it's not you, it's the process of marriage. It's just all hard, because guess what happens when it all works out right? You know what you end up with? Babies. Little people with their own sense of everything. They mess you up. You love them dearly, but they're a habit.
What? I mean, there's something wrong with this person. Like, she's seriously depressed. She has the most negative, dark outlook on life I've ever heard from a public figure. Certainly one who's been...
Then came the rise of the book empire. Michelle Obama's memoir was marketed as an unfiltered, soul-bearing glimpse into her life, a rare chance to see the woman behind the spotlight. But Megyn Kelly dismantled that narrative, framing it not as vulnerability, but as strategy. She described it as a branding masterclass, engineered with the precision of a corporate campaign. Every revelation seemed carefully selected, every anecdote polished until it could fit neatly onto an inspirational poster or a Pinterest board. And the media devoured it not for its depth, but because Michelle's image has been elevated into something untouchable, a sacred storyline few dare challenge.
Barack's come in, he's come out, and he's like, y'all still talking? He'll sit down for 5 minutes, be like, how are the boys? And the flip side of my husband, right? Because he golfs. And golfing takes as long as the first session of our, it takes 5 hours to golf. He'll golf with his buddies, come back and be like, how's X? He's good. It's like, what'd y'all talk about?
Okay. So can I just say, she stole that from a comedian who's all over Instagram. That little bit is all over Instagram. Forgive me, I can't remember the guy's name, but he does this whole bit about how he goes golfing with a guy whose wife just died, and he comes home, and the wife's like, how's he doing? Fine.
Megyn Kelly tightened the screws on what she called the glaring hypocrisy. Michelle Obama has built her public persona on the language of humility, service, and sacrifice, a woman supposedly grounded in the struggles of everyday Americans. Yet, her post-White House career could double as a billionaire's vision board. We're talking multi-million-dollar speaking contracts, blockbuster Netflix deals, and sold-out stadium tours, all wrapped in the rhetoric of being a voice for the middle class. Kelly didn't just call this a contradiction, she called it an insult, a slap in the face to those who actually live paycheck to paycheck. But the critique didn't stop there. Kelly pointed to Michelle's quiet political shadow play, the insistence that she has no interest in running for office, even as every move seems designed to keep her firmly planted in the political spotlight. To Kelly, the reality was clear. Michelle's career has never been about dismantling systems of power, but about protecting and amplifying them, all while polishing her own brand. From the magazine covers to the gala appearances, from carefully staged social media posts to curated fashion spreads, it wasn't leadership, it was political celebrity culture masquerading as moral authority.
Listen to this.
And at this phase of my life, I'm in therapy right now because I'm transitioning. I'm 60 years old. I've finished a really hard thing in my life with my family intact. I'm an empty nester. My girls are in, they've been launched. And now for the first time, as I've said before, every choice that I'm making is completely mine. I now don't have the excuse of, well, my kids need this or my husband needs that or the country needs that. So how do I think about this next
Once again, speaking a reference to her time as First Lady negatively, and I'm transitioning. I mean, an interesting choice of words, given how the internet refers to her.
Then Megyn Kelly turned her focus to the cultural pedestal Michelle Obama has been placed upon. In today's media landscape, Michelle is treated almost like a sacred figure, someone so revered that even questioning her image is framed as an act of hostility. But Kelly refused to play by those rules. In her view, it is precisely this illusion of untouchability that demands the sharpest scrutiny. Because power without accountability, no matter how charmingly packaged, is dangerous. A warm smile and photogenic grace don't erase the need for honest critique. Kelly went further, pulling apart Michelle's celebrated speeches. They're often praised as powerful, stirring, and inspirational, carefully staged events that draw standing ovations. Yet Kelly argued that once you strip away the dramatic pauses, the choreographed hand gestures, and the soaring rhetoric, what remains are simple platitudes. Lines polished to sound uplifting, but ultimately as safe and forgettable as something tucked into a graduation card. And Michelle isn't merely a public figure anymore, she's a brand, a product line. The The cookbooks, the documentaries, the endless merchandising of her name. It's the commodification of personality on a scale more akin to global pop stars than political leaders. And every dollar earned chips away at the credibility of her voice of the people narrative.
Laughing, he's yelling down to a buddy down below. They were joking, he was smiling. He was covered in dirt, to your, your life motto. And I thought, look at this guy in this dark, dank, smelly, dirty place with lots of danger. Not just this cherry picker, but also the live rail that he's working on, all the wires, having a great time. And then you look at her, and she's still, they have to be billionaires by now.
Sure.
Out on the yachts, the Martha's Vineyard $22 million estate, totally thriving young daughters who went to Harvard and USC. It's never going to be good enough. It's a mind frame, right? It's like your choice of how you're going to go.
Megyn Kelly didn't stop at dissecting Michelle's carefully polished image. She widened her lens and took aim at the Obamas as a whole, showing how their post-presidency hasn't been a quiet retreat into private life, but a masterclass in turning influence into a gold mine. The notion that they've stepped back as ordinary citizens is, Kelly argued, almost laughable. Instead, they operate like a dynasty in waiting, keeping networks warm, cultivating allies, sharpening influence, and transforming their brand into an empire. And at the center of it all stands Michelle, the linchpin, the face that can sell not just a book or a documentary, but an entire narrative. With a smile, she can move products, ideas, even movements, weaving them seamlessly into the family's larger legacy. The sharpest blow, however, came when Kelly took on the media's near-worshipful treatment of Michelle. In the press, she's untouchable. Every outfit becomes a cultural statement. Every Instagram caption is hailed as a mic drop. Every public appearance is breathlessly framed as historic. Kelly tore through that fantasy, exposing the glaring double standard. Anyone else with Michelle's privilege, wealth, and elite access would face relentless scrutiny. What emerged wasn't the portrait of a selfless leader rising above the fray, but of a savvy operator, one who knows how to bend the system while convincing millions she's just like them.
I think that's a very unhealthy position to take, or to advise other people to gut it out for 10 years of misery. I mean, first of all, what that would do to you physically alone, I would never want to sign up for that. And secondly, does she not realize that by talking shit about her partner of decades, first Black president of the United States, she's talking shit about herself? Lady,
Kelly didn't just set her sights on Michelle's career, she widened the lens to call out the culture that allowed it to flourish unchecked. She dissected the way celebrity worship has bled into politics, transforming elected leaders and their families into lifestyle brands glossy, untouchable, and immune from meaningful critique. And in Kelly's telling, Michelle Obama wasn't merely a participant in this trend. She was its crown jewel, polished, profitable, perfectly packaged. Michelle, Kelly argued, moves through the public arena with the confidence of someone who knows the cameras will always catch her best angle, and the headlines will always be written to flatter. To Kelly, this aura of perfection wasn't the product of authenticity, but of years of deliberate, calculated image engineering. That laugh that feels spontaneous, tested, that candid photo splashed across Instagram, choreographed. Even the off-the-cuff remarks that sound so genuine, scripted, filtered, and rehearsed to guarantee applause. This isn't effortless charisma. Kelly insisted it's brand management disguised as charm. A carefully built machine designed to generate adoration. And behind Michelle's reputation for grace under pressure lies something few dare say aloud: the safety net of never truly facing consequences. Her influence appears bulletproof not because she has never stumbled, but because the media refuses to let those stumbles see the light of day.
The first one about how difficult it is for Black women like Michelle to articulate their pain.
Grew up with women who weren't voicing the pain and the burden. They made it look easy. And when you make stuff look easy, people assume that you must like this.
Yeah.
It's okay with you, right?
Right.
You know, we don't articulate as Black women our pain because it's almost like nobody ever gave us permission to do that.
And does anyone care?
Yeah, there's
Will
that.
they care?
There's
If
that
we
part.
knew, I think we would care.
Kelly made it clear this wasn't just a case of favorable media coverage, it was something closer to a protective shield. A shield that allows Michelle to hover above the fray, choosing when and how to dip into cultural or political debates. It's the art of selective engagement. Speak just enough to maintain influence, but never so much that you risk sparking genuine backlash. Kelly drilled deeper, pointing out how Michelle seamlessly switches roles depending on what the moment demands. At times, she is the cultural icon, the warm, relatable figure who captivates audiences with charm and poise. At other times, she reverts to the political spouse, leveraging the credibility of the Obama legacy. This dual identity, Kelly argued, isn't coincidence, it's strategy. The contradiction sharpened when Kelly turned to Michelle's lifestyle, which is often downplayed in public narratives. For someone marketed as the champion of working families, her reality resembles something lifted from the glossy pages of a luxury magazine. Designer wardrobes worth thousands, sprawling multi-million-dollar properties, and exotic vacations in the most exclusive corners of the globe. The distance between Michelle and the people she claims to represent isn't measured in miles, it's measured in private jet hours. To Kelly, the image of sipping champagne aboard a yacht while speaking for everyday Americans was hypocrisy at its most striking.
There are divorce rumors and, she's not showing up for him, whether it's at the Jimmy Carter funeral or the Trump inauguration or the basketball game he just went to in LA when visiting their daughters, and then dinner with the daughters was not there. Here she is talking about it. If it were me, I would say something nice about him. I would say he's just so charming. It was meant to be. I knew he could heal the earth in the way he did. There was only one person who could do it, and it was my husband, Barack Obama, whatever. Then she gets on to talking a little bit about him personally, and this is how that sounded.
When a girlfriend comes to visit, it's usually like, you gotta stay for 2 days because it's going to take us
So much
2
time to come
days.
to.
Kelly also took aim at what she described as the emotional manipulation woven into Michelle Obama's public speaking. Michelle, she argued, has perfected the craft of storytelling using carefully selected personal anecdotes sprinkled with just enough vulnerability to make audiences lean in, only to pivot toward moral lessons that neatly reinforce her brand. Kelly called it sentimental scaffolding, heart-tugging narratives that support the illusion of depth but never actually build anything concrete. The tactic is undeniably effective, but it's also deliberately safe. Michelle rarely strays into the territory of hard solutions or bold, controversial stances because real risk would threaten the universal adoration she has come to rely on. And then there was the Netflix deal, marketed as a noble mission to uplift unheard voices and share important stories. It was in reality a multi-million-dollar power move. Overnight, Michelle and Barack were no longer just political figures. They were entertainment moguls, brand managers of their own empire. Kelly highlighted the irony to people who once railed against corporate greed, now operating as the very kind of corporate power brokers they claimed to oppose. To Kelly, it was never really about storytelling. It was about controlling the narrative, keeping their influence intact even after stepping away from the political stage. And Michelle's aura, Kelly argued, isn't sustained by her own actions alone, it's magnified by the constant, reflexive comparisons to those who came before her and those who came after. Nostalgia has painted her years in the White House as a golden era, free of blemishes, free of scandal, an image Kelly was determined to dismantle.